Hi, click before. Hi, YouTube. This is an answer to your video. What would you consider proof of a God? Or what would be proof of a God? It's interesting that you said a God instead of God with a capital G, because the first thing I would ask was, what do you mean by God? Do you mean the one that's in the Bible? Or do you mean what some people refer to as Godhead? Just the essence of some being, or do you mean something else? God could take all kinds of forms if there was one or more. My feeling is that if there existed a God, there's probably a whole pantheon of them. Otherwise, an eternal existence all alone would be pretty terrible, wouldn't it? What would I consider proof? I kind of dealt with this in a kind of a cast it off way a long time ago in a video that if God appeared directly before me, a God, and I knew I wasn't crazy, then I might believe. If I actually had this individual being reveal himself to me. Because as far as I'm concerned, Revelation, as told in the Bible or any other holy book, is hearsay. Nothing has been revealed to me, and I don't take it as revelation when I just see it in the pages of an old book. What is God in the first place? Is it just the ultimate supernatural? This is why the question has always been so difficult to answer from my perspective, because I don't believe in the supernatural. To me, everything that is natural. We have the natural that has been explored and understood, and the natural that is not finished, not completely explored, and incompletely understood. Understanding of the universe will always be incomplete. We are finite, small, little beings in this in the universe, or multiple universes, as may be possible. And we'll never know everything that's natural, but we found out a lot in the last couple hundred years. Within the last 100 years, in particular, the explosion of knowledge is amazing. It's been exponential, and it gets greater all the time. The greater our knowledge of nature, how things work, the smaller is our need for God, in my opinion. Now, that need, before I should probably say that some people do need God, regardless of proof or anything else, and which is the reason that churches and synagogues and temples flourish around the world. People seem to be hardwired with a need for something outside of themselves. A few of us who are skeptical in nature may have that same nagging need too, and yet we fight against it because we know that it isn't supported by anything that we can demonstrate is true. If a God, any God, appeared before me, as I said, then I guess I would have to believe that something like that existed. Would I worship such a being? No. I cannot imagine an immortal, infinite being that needs to be worshipped. This is just silly. The comparison has been made between humans and ants. Actually, that's not even a fair comparison, because humans are not enough greater than ants to qualify as gods, although to an ant possibly we would be. But do we need to be worshipped by lesser beings? I don't think so. I think any human being that wants to be worshipped, and there are a few of them around, as we've all seen, are narcissists. They are mentally and emotionally disordered. There's something wrong with people like that. So for a God, something infinite, to want the worship and the prayers and the attention, constant attention of human beings like us is just, I would think that would be a rather weak God, morally. That is, emotionally, you know. Now, again, we're talking. You asked about what would be proof. The image that you're looking at right now of a head floating on a black background to somebody from the 19th century. You could show that. You could show this to Robert Ingersoll, perhaps, and I doubt that he would believe it, but he might jump a little bit and say, where in the world did this come from? Until you could explain about electronics and television projection and things like that. What is evidence to one person will not be to another. You and I, brought up in the 20th century and into the 21st, have seen so many wonders, technological wonders, that it becomes more and more difficult to think of anything as supernatural. Just about anything is possible, just among human beings. So it would take a tremendous demonstration, and it would have to be in person, and it would have to be such that I could not possibly deny that this thing did exist. Then I would say, okay, yeah, there's a God. Then what would I be? Probably a deist. I think that the founding fathers of our country, the United States, I'm talking about, were mostly deists. They had an idea that there may be something, which they usually euphemized as providence, euphemistically called euphemized. I don't think there's a word like that. Euphemistically referred to as providence. But they did not believe in a personal God. And again, I would not worship any God. Because I think it's unnecessary and just plain foolish. It's a waste of our precious energies and times in our lives. We could have made the world a lot better than we have made it if we hadn't had the stumbling block of religion, which is all related to gods or godlike beings, to hinder us all these through all the centuries. So deism, that's hard to define because there are as many definitions as there are people. Also, you'll find that if you just ask people what is an agnostic, you get the same quandary because there are many different definitions. I don't think I've rambled on for quite 10 minutes yet, and I don't think I'm going to. This is probably entirely inadequate. I'm probably going to take it down, but we'll just see. I'm going to see what it looks like and see what it sounds like, and if I think I've made any sense at all, I'll leave it up. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and especially click before. Now I've got to find that finish and exit again. This is my nemesis here.